So today you will also see that I'm in my kitchen because it is like 5 degrees out today in Southeast Michigan and it's cold as hell. And the basement generally maintains around 65 degrees, but when it gets really cold outside like that, like I just get cold, period, and I'm just trying to feel warm no matter what. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come upstairs today. Um, because that just, at least in my mind, it makes me feel warmer, and it is a bit warmer up here, though I try not to go crazy on the gas because then there's a gas bill. So today I am going to make something that I've been eyeing for quite a while, like a wall sconce candle holder thing. I'm making it out of just some regular old air dry clay that's used for crafting. Um, and I really just wanted to do this with some things that, you're going to have around the house. And if you keep hearing all kinds of pitter patter, that's because, remember, I have a couple dogs. And Maggie's down here. I would show her, but I don't want to move the camera. I just got that all good. But yeah, so this is the clay I am using. Obviously, I've used it before because I've got it in this Ziploc bag, but it's so pretty pliable, feels good. So I think we'll be all right with that. I'm going to use a rolling pin. I'm just going to use a fork and a knife, not to eat it. A little bowl of water. I will be using this piece of cardboard and some tape, which we will get into. And then also some parchment paper. And I would assume that wax paper would probably also work the same. I don't have wax paper. We're kind of a household of parchment paper for baking. So I'm going to go ahead. I am going to get the camera reestablished, probably add a little bit more lighting behind me here so you can see well, and we'll go ahead and get going with this. Okay, so I'm back. And I might kind of stop here and periodically look and make sure that everything's looking okay as far as the camera goes, because I can't really see it with the way that it's angled right now. But here's the hoping. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to grab out a nice little chunk of this stuff. It's pretty cool. Ugh. They do make one that I really like, and I can't remember the brand name of it. But I remember that I was looking at the ingredients on it, and it said that one of the ingredients was like volcanic ash. And I thought that was really interesting. But on top of that, it also dries super hard. Like I went ahead and I did some experiments with it where I went and I I just like made little things. And I would dry it out. And then after that, I would dry out little pieces. And then from there, just tested it to see how strong it would be. And it was really rather strong. Like it was something to where like I did like a little coin-sized piece of it and then went to just kind of snap it between my fingers. And I could not snap it. I was really surprised by that. So that was pretty cool. All right, so this definitely, like I said, I've used this before. It is a little dry feeling to me. And put a little bit of water in here, get it on my hands, and I'm just going to try and work this through just a little bit and see if maybe that might help to get it a little bit more pliable. Because as of right now, it's not as pliable as I would like it to be, and it might not even come back to being as pliable as it should be or as a nice new package would be. But we're going to go ahead and just see what we can do. And again, like I said before, a lot of the stuff is some experimentation, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. So if this doesn't turn out perfectly, because I don't really like to see how it's not really staying together like that. That's a little concerning. So maybe I should have bought a brand new thing of this against my better judgment. Oh well. All right. We do have to roll it, so I'm just going to go ahead and say this is going to be about as good as we can. Now, because I want to do this in more of a oval shape, so I'm going to get it like that. And we're going to put this over top of it because I don't want to get this clay all over the rolling pin, even though it's all over my hands, but I will wash it good. All right. Go like that. I'll turn it, get it out this way a little bit more. All right, so getting this out to like this is feeling a little thin. So I think I'm going to do a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water on here. And I'm going to grab some more clay. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this one more time. Oh, here we go again, singing here we go again. We said last time. All right. We got a little wet, which is fine. It looks a little bit better, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fold all of this stuff back in and get it back into a little bit more of the shape that I was going for. We're going to cut it out, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. That's looking a bit better. Definitely got some of these creases in it. We're unstoppable. Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. Control, control, control. Lose yourself, just feel the flow. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna cut this out. Like I said, I want to do more of an oval. Now you can definitely use, like if you wanted to lay down another bowl or something to get it nice and perfect, at least on the ends, you can do that. Just for the sake of me doing this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. I'm not going to go super hard into it first. Just going to see if maybe I can just do something like this. Just go ahead and just get an idea. And then I can maybe better round it out. And again, this isn't going to be perfect. We've all discussed this in the first video, a little bit at least. Like I'm a perfectionist, which is really funny, but when it comes to like art and doing this kind of stuff, like I've really got to stop myself. Because while it's good to have some goals about, you know, how much better you maybe are getting at things, and keep yourself working and stuff like that, you know, which is great. But I really have a tendency to put down everything that I make, because if I try being too perfect, I start to really get down on myself. And the only stuff that I end up seeing in what I'm doing is the things that I perceive to be some kind of a problem, imperfection, stuff like that, you know, and like I'll show off the stuff that I've made, you know, and I'll just kind of be like, yeah, I don't really care for the way that this turned out necessarily. I think, you know, this, and that all kind of made it look a little crappy. And then, you know, people that, you know, not everybody, but, you know, my friends and stuff would be like, "You're crazy. This looks fantastic. I could never do this if I tried it." And stop being so hard on yourself. So I'm working on that. I'm trying to just let go and create things and stop worrying about making everything perfect. All right, so I've got that. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to come through with my butter knife here, and I'm just going to kind of cut the excess out. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this. I'm actually going to reuse this for something else in a moment, and you will see. All right, so I'm going to come back in, and now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to try to come in on these edges and just make them look a little bit more better, a little bit prettier. Use that little bit of water if you need to, just to help you smooth stuff. All right, so this is looking pretty decent. So now I'm going to take this extra, I'm going to put a little bit more water on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little candle holder, basically. And that's something I forgot to grab, is a candlestick. So I am going to go and grab one. Get that a little bit better. All right, so I just got a little ball going right now. And then I'm just going to kind of maybe give it a little bit of a taper on the bottom, kind of something like that. All right, grab that candlestick, one moment. All right, got this. I found these cute little candlesticks. They're not big, they're a little bit on the smaller side, and I think they're so cute. And I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to get it in there good. And then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do that a little bit. And because what my goal is here is to have something that it's going to fit well. So what I'm going to do, because I want to put this on here, okay, I'm going to come in right in the center or so here, and I'm just going to rough this up a bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom here. Because what we want to do is this almost like kind of in a way welds these two pieces together. You get all of this texture in here, and you get all these little beads of clay kind of coming up and pulling up. Come in here, and I'm just going to get water in this. I'm going to get some water in this, and then we're just going to put them together. I'm just going to kind of maybe move that around a little bit. You know, kind of push it down. You don't want to go too hard. So you don't want to get everything all crazy here and misshape everything. But yeah, so something like that. Okay, so now I'm going to try and be gentle. I'm just going to rock it around a little bit because this is pretty well stuck in here. So I'm just going to twist it, try and break that adherence it has. There we go. I'm going to slide this cardboard. Now, as you can see, I already made that crease. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this in. Let's see, and that crease is about right there. So I'm going to move this down a little bit more. Crease is about there. Okay. I think that should be good because we want that crease to be like right about there or so. So let's see. There we go. I'm going to take a little bit more of this clay. now that we know where the crease is, and I just want to do a little bit of a lip around the base of the shelf area. And I want to do that because I do want to use this. I would like to burn the candle. Um, Candle wax always makes me a little nervous about it dripping off. I don't want candle wax getting all over my floors because that is not fun to clean up. So we know that that crease is right about here. We can see. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to get in here and just kind of texturize this outside ledge a bit. If you can see Maggie or not. Yep, that's Maggie. Hi, honey. Can I kiss? Yeah, thank you. That's Maggie. She likes to get up here and say, "Are you making me food?" All right, hands are washed. Also, I am going to come up here. I don't know, I'm going to try and look right about center. I don't want this to be too close to the top because I want there to be a decent amount of clay. I'm just going to spin the end of this fork and make a little hole for hanging. All right, so let's see here. So we make sure we got that nice where we want it. And then I want to make sure, I might have to readjust a little bit here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, we're pushing this up against the wall. And that's what I don't want to happen. All right, so here we go. Get this, because you want it to be at a 90-degree angle, obviously, or it's all going to be all wonky. And that's where I'm going to take a little bit of this tape, and I'm going to push it up here. I don't want this to fall, so you might need to use both of your hands. And we're going to try and keep this up. Take a little tape. I'm going to put it on this. So I know this probably has no bearing whatsoever on this being able to stay up, but we're just going to try. And you can see it kind of gets a bit puckered there. And I feel like we're in the danger zone. But I'm just going to go in with some water. I'm going to try and see if I can smooth that down at all. All right. So what we're going to attempt to do here is just put, I'm going to try some tape. We're going to see if that works. And what I'm going to attempt to do is just kind of go like this, which seems a little weird, but just to give it a little bit of support. I'm not pushing that tape into that at all. I am just using that just to try and keep everything up where I want it. This is probably not a very good straight camera angle. All right, there you go. So we're going to let this dry. I'm going to give it about 24 hours. We'll see how it looks. If it needs more time, then I'll give it more time. All right, everybody, welcome back. It has been a couple days. So I let this dry overnight. I just left it in the same spot. And the next day in the afternoon, well, it was like maybe around 11 a.m. It was still feeling a little bit wet. It wasn't really super rigid yet. And because I wanted to try and, get this going for you guys, what I actually ended up doing was I took a glass pan and I laid it down and I put this end right up against the edge of the inside of the pan, put it in the oven, and then I turned the oven on to the lowest setting it would go, which was 175. And I just let it warm up with it in the oven and just let it go. and I left it in there for about 2 hours or so, and it seemed like it was getting drier, it was getting harder. So I went ahead and I put it in there, and I gradually increased the temperature by about 20 degrees once every 3 hours or so. Like in total, I probably left this in the oven probably about 6, 7 hours total. I didn't get any higher than I think 250 in the temperature. And just after having a day of it doing that, it seems like it worked. Before you decide to put any kind of an air dry clay in your oven to help it dry, check the package, make sure there's no warnings against doing something like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lightly sand it. Now I've got some 150 grit sandpaper here. It's not super strong. I want to start out with this. I don't want to take off too much, but I'm going to come in and I'm just going to gently start coming down, and you'll see this stuff, it sands off pretty easily. And I'm just going to try and get it a little bit smoother. And you're going to see there's a whole lot of powder that's coming off of this. So just something to think about if you should have any kind of respiration issues at all, then you might want to wear a mask. I am not worrying about it right now, though who knows, probably should be, huh? But you can see like how much powder is coming off of this. Okay, so I think I've got this to pretty much where I want it to be. Um, Again, not perfect. That's okay. I kind of like the way that that's looking. I think, again, I kind of like to go for a little bit of a handmade, um, vintagey kind of vibe to it. And I feel like the imperfections really help to give that look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to brush off as much dust as I possibly can um, before we get to the painting it. All right, welcome back. So I actually went ahead, a little sneaky, I went ahead and I put some paint on this just because it's painting. Like you put paint on a brush and then you paint it. And as you can see, like I kind of made mine a little bit kind of streaky looking. Again, it's just kind of going with that whole idea of this being um, more of a handmade type of look, older, that kind of a thing. Um, I like just mixed up some paint, as you can see here. Um, I had started with this darker one, but I thought it was way too dark, so I squirted out a bunch of white and then put a little bit of this into that and painted it all with that. And then I decided, well, I don't know, that looks a little too white. So then I went back and I kind of just used some streaky bits of this and went over the whole thing all over again. And that's what this looks, or what that's what it looks like. Then I let it dry. So the next thing that I want to do is, this is actually going to be a whole different technique. So I found this cool picture online. Now, obviously, if you're using things that you find online, you want to find things that are going to be okay for you to use. I'm pretty sure that this one was. I kind of went through a little bit of a Pinterest black hole with trying to find things that were free online to use. It looked like this one was. Just make sure that, you know, whatever images that are not yours that you find are okay to go ahead and use. Okay. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this in here, except I'm not just going to put it on or, you know, glue it on and that be that. What I'm going to do is, you might be familiar with this and you might not, where it is a technique where I'm going to use some Mod Podge, put it down on here, flip this around, and then I put it on there and I let this dry really good. After it's all dried, what you have to do is then you get this nice and wet, and then you sit here and you rub the paper off. and what it does is it leaves the image behind. Now I printed this out on my laser printer, not an inkjet, a laser printer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get into this ginormous thing of Mod Podge. Oh boy, that is really... Ugh. Oh my gosh, look at that. Ouch. All right. So this is fun stuff to work with too. It's definitely got a lot of uses out there. You can do a lot of different things with it. But I'm just gonna come on here and I'm just gonna brush a layer on. You don't want this to be like dripping wet, but at the same time you also, and I'm just kind of doing it all over everything because I'm not entirely certain how far, I didn't like mark off like how far that picture is going to go on it or anything, and I don't want there to be odd streaks in it, so I'm just going to kind of paint this whole thing. All right, but I'm going to make sure that there's more right here in this area where I'm going to want it to go on. So it's not too bad. All right, so I don't know if you can really tell or not, but it's got a decent amount on, but not too much. And I'm going to take this, and again, you got to flip it over. Now, if you are doing something that has words in it, or if you are very concerned about which way it's looking, then you might want to reverse the image before you do this. All right, so that looks okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press this in here. I'm just going to start from the bottom because this is not a perfectly flat back here. So I'm just going to start from the bottom and I'm going to use my finger and I'm just going to kind of go up with it. I'm just really trying to press this in. Don't really want to get any on the paper because again, what we're going to end up doing here afterwards is coming in and we're going to scrub this paper off. All right. I think that is good. And again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to let this dry up. Probably going to give it about an hour for that to dry really good. Okay, we are back. Everything's nice and dry. So the next step that we're going to take on this is we're going to use some water and our fingers, and we are going to wet this paper and everything else, and we're going to slowly work this paper off. Now, as you can see through it, which means that it's working. And we're just gonna sit here and we're just gonna rub, not with a lot of pressure. Sorry, there goes Maggie again. That dog, she likes to be aware of everything going on around her, I'll tell you. And then Daddy tells her, stop. Okay, so this is actually coming off really easy, which is nice because, like I said, I've definitely had mixed results with this. But yeah, see how that's coming? It's just coming up and it's just leaving everything behind. See, you got to be careful. I just pushed a little too hard on the bottom and see, it started taking it all completely off. So anyway, yeah, this is going to have a little bit of an edge. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some paint. I think I'm going to do some gold paint, and I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of a border around it. And then I'm also going to maybe do a little bit of like a border around the very edge. All right, so I've got this paintbrush. It's dry. I had this before, and I used this to just kind of get off all the dust. But now I'm going to use it just to try and get all those pieces of paper off. Now, you'll kind of see, maybe, like you can kind of see a little bit where maybe it looks a little bit like there still might be a little bit of pulp, like you can see there. And if you rub, you see that there is still some more that comes up. You definitely want to try to get as much of it off, because when it dries, it might look a little bit cloudy. But I do plan on, I'm going to give this a nice clear coat as a final step. And that should definitely help to prevent that as well. But look at that. How cool is that? Like that's really neat. And just imagine, I mean, you could do this with so many things. Again, you do have to print this out using a laser printer, not an inkjet. So this stuff is great. It's gilding paint. This is just the Craft Smart brand, which I got at Michael's. Make sure to shake it up really good because it does settle if you haven't used it in a while. And then, yeah, so see, you can see it's dried a little bit, and you can kind of tell that it's got a little bit almost like of a film over it. Again, I'm not overly worried about it because I think once I put on the excuse me, once I put on the clear coat, it should bring that right back to life. Okay, so this stuff's really cool. I love it. A little bit of it goes a very long way. And this is actually, wow, apparently I need to get some more. It also smells like a marker. So I'm going to do my best here with my very unsteady hand. And I'm just going to come in. Let's see, you can see good. All right. I'm just going to come in. And I'm just going to try and do a line around the picture. Okay, so there we go. I've got that around it. That looks pretty decent. But I want to do a little bit of, I don't know, just something a little bit more decorative. So I think what I'm going to do, because I don't really have a big plan, I'm just going to start by, I'm going to just do some simple kind of dots around the border. So yeah, look at that. I like that. That looks pretty neat. So I've done that. So I think now maybe I'm going to try my best. And maybe I'm going to do, I don't know, let's see. Maybe, no, see, this is where I'm going to start getting dangerous. I'm going to do like a little scallop, like a little half circle around these. That's looking cool, right? I like that. And I'm just kind of going in and I'm just doing a little bit of detailing around this. Nothing really too major. Okay, yeah, that's really cool. I really like that. Hopefully that's showing up okay with all the lighting I've got around here. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, so I think that I'm going to leave it at that for the back. Now, I think for the front, oh boy, I'm going to do some of these little triangles on this, I think. All right, there we go. See, it almost kind of has like a folk art feeling to it, which I think that's cool. I used this stuff. I probably used like half of this bottle on a wood project, and in the end, it looked like it was covered in crystal clear resin. It was amazing. I was very impressed. So I'm just going to put some on here directly, and then you just want to brush it. And look at that. And it just pops that color right back on out. And you don't want to overwork this. That's one thing about this stuff, is once you start putting it on, you've got a few to work that in and brush it nice. And then it's going to start getting dry. And then you're going to, if you keep working at it, you're going to end up starting to pull it up and stuff. You don't want to do that. All right, so I'm going to put some down into this area here and try not to mess anything up there. All right. All right, and it's pretty well dried. Not so much like down here in this crease, still a little tacky down there. But look at that. Look at that shine that it gives. Like it's really impressive. I love this stuff. Of course, if you don't want it to be shiny, then you can use like a polyurethane. They make it in matte. They make that in glossy. That also would work for something like this. I just have this stuff because I tried it and I fell in love with it, and that's what I've got. So there we go. So the last step that I want to do is I want to just do a little bit of that backing that I was talking about. Something just to help, I'm hoping, protect it, and give it just a little bit more strength in the back of it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to find the stuff for that, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back. So I'm going to use this felt that I had, or is this felt fleece, whatever, I bought for a project, and I actually had this lying out still. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to use this. So what I want to do is I'm just going to set this down on here. And this does not have to be perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm cutting backwards, so this isn't going to be very great. Yeah, that's real rough, isn't it? Okay, but that's all right, because then I'm going to come through and we'll make this look better. So I'm using wood glue. And my thought process behind using wood glue on this is that this is a porous surface. Wood is porous, so I feel like this is going to really help to get it, I don't know, stuck, if that makes sense, if I can get it to come out. All right. And then I'm going to use this again. I don't want it to get over the edges because wood glue does have kind of a yellowish color to it once it dries. So I'm going to try not to do that. I'm hoping this works. Again, we're kind of experimenting here. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to use this little washer. I'm going to put it right there. And the whole idea there is to just give that little bit of support to the hole there. That way, it's not 100% hanging on by the hole in the clay. Am I being paranoid about that? Probably. But I think I've established that I'm a little paranoid about things. I guess with me, like, I always want to make sure that, even if something doesn't look 100% perfect, like, I still want it to be somewhat quality. I don't want it to be up on a wall and then it breaks or something happens to it. All right, I'm just going to push that down. But yeah, my idea is that putting that washer on just helps to give it just that little bit much more support. Okay. And then we're going to put it on the bottom. It does seem like it's sticking on pretty well, actually. Like I said, wood glue is great because wood glue really does, it grips and starts drying pretty fast, which is quite nice. All right. All right, there we go. My very first craft video tutorial experiment. I think it turned out great. I'm excited for it. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to find a cool place to hang this up, put a candle in it, and I'll show you what that looks like on the outro. Thank you for joining me. I hope you had fun. I hope you maybe learned a little something. I hope that you will turn around and give this a try because, hey, why not? I hope you have a nice evening or a nice day or a nice morning and a better tomorrow. Take care of yourself, take care of others, spread some love and joy and happiness in this world because we definitely need it. And I will catch you on the next video. I'm doing my best to do this once a week. So got to figure out what we're going to do next.